Thank you. Representative Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Hubbard, does William Brown still work for you?
Yes, sir, he does.
What's his role? What's his position?
He is the Chief Environmental Officer.
Right.
Mr. Bio.
Chief Environmental Officer for BOEM. So on your website, August 22nd, 2014, he has a letter there, Dear Reader. He's got an impressive resume, by the way. I looked at it on his Wikipedia page, but he says this: as a scientist who has spent a good part of my career working in non-governmental environmental organizations and in industry, I understand and appreciate advocacy. At the same time, I believe that everyone benefits by getting the facts right. So you scroll down to the next page, the science behind the decision. On your website, it says, to date, there has been no documented scientific evidence of noise from air guns used in geological and geophysical G&G seismic activity is adversely affecting marine animal populations or coastal communities. The technology has been used for more than 30 years around the world, and it's still used in U.S. waters off the Gulf of Mexico with no known detrimental impact on marine mammal populations or commercial fishing. So that's on your website. You testified back in March, and I asked you on the record, have there been any verifiable instances of marine mammals being killed or harmed due to seismic G&G activity? You said no. I referenced the website at that point in time, but permits are still being held up for G&G activity. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record a letter from Richard Hudson, member of Congress, and myself about the delay of the IHA process, the incidental harassment authorizations.
If there's no objection, so ordered.
Thank you. It is our understanding, according to this letter, that the National Marine Fisheries plans to undergo an unprecedented and unnecessary additional review period on the applications this summer before incidental harassment authorizations are proposed for additional public comment. These things are lasting months, 10 months, 11 months now. That's for the record. So I disagree with the need for IHAs based on Mr. Brown's testimony, or his written letter rather, and based on your testimony, what the website says. But if I look at the basic Marine Mammals Protection Act process for the issue of permits, it says you contact National Marine Fisheries Service if activity may result in a harassment of marine mammals. And then the next step, can a take be avoided through modification or protective measures? First off, you've got to say that a take is going to happen. Based on the facts that's presented here on your website, there hadn't been a verifiable take in the history of seismic activity. So I don't see that there's a take in process. You ought to issue the permits. But if you don't, if you think there might be a take and it can't be avoided, then you have to go through this long, convoluted process to get a permit. Now, this is ridiculous. So why are we requiring incidental harassment authorizations for G&G activity when we can't prove there has been any marine mammal harassment, deaths, maiming, or anything like that? In fact, Mr. Brown says, hey, we're going to deal with the facts, but Oceana says they have the facts in this brochure. They say these are the facts. I'm going to believe a chief environmental policy guy for you than before I believe Oceana. But let's talk about the facts. You're requiring an IHA for G&G activity. At the same time, IHA equivalents are having to be issued by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for wind and solar production. Let me tell you about the facts. It is a fact that wind and solar kills hundreds of thousands of birds, many of them protected birds under the Endangered Species Act, under the Golden Bald Eagle Protection Act, under the Migratory Bird Act, Treaty Act. Those are protected species that are killed by wind and solar that's being supported, if you heard the opening statements, by the ranking member. Let's do more wind and solar. Let's kill more birds, more protected birds and migratory waterfowl is what I'm hearing, because those are the facts. But let's hold up G&G activity over some pseudoscience that says that marine mammals are going to be killed or maimed, and let's go through a 10, 11, 12 month, how long it's going to take to issue an incidental harassment authorization when there's no verifiable instance of harassment or death or maiming of a marine mammal. I hope you get where I'm coming from. We're issuing take permits for wind and solar every day. And we know that birds are being killed, be either fried on solar arrays or being knocked out of the air by wind turbines. Gold and bald eagles, condors, other migratory birds, but not a verifiable instance of a marine mammal being hurt by seismic. It's time to get off of square one and move on for G&G activity off the Atlantic coast so that our states, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, can all play in part of this energy renaissance, meeting the needs of this country. That is the right thing. So I would urge BOEM and Marine Mammals Protection and every other agency and sub-agency and every act to move forward. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the leniency, and I yield back.